Hey, Chris Ferdinandi here with another Vanilla.js quick tip. Let's get into it. The add event listener method can only be attached to an individual element. You can't attach it to an array or a node list of elements the way you might be able to in jQuery or other frameworks. So for example, here I have a handful of buttons. I'm using the document query selector all method to get every button that has a click me class on it. So these first three, not this last one. I am going to attempt to attach the add event listener method, listening for clicks, to that button's node list. And if I jump into the browser, you can see I get this uncaught type error. Buttons add event listener is not a function. The node list object does not have add event listener as a function on it. So one of the things I see people often do to get around this, and it works, is to loop through each element in the node list and attach an event listener directly to the element. So here I'm looping through each of the buttons in my node list. I'm running add event listener on that button, and I'm setting up callback functions to run for it. So if I reload, you can see clicking on each of these buttons is going to run my event listener. This works, but it can cause performance issues. If you have a lot of elements on the page, and you've done this a lot, it takes up a lot of space in the browser's memory. Every event that you're listening for an event on uses the browser's memory. And so this is actually not necessarily the best way to approach this. I want to teach you an approach that I absolutely love, that handles this elegantly and avoids some of the performance issues that come from attaching individual event listeners to all of the elements you want to listen for. And it's called event delegation. The way event delegation works is you attach the event listener or the event you want to listen for on a parent element to all of the elements that you want to listen to that event on. So in this case, we have a bunch of buttons on the page. Maybe we want to listen for all click events on the document or on the body. And every time someone clicks anywhere in the document, this will fire. And that's because of an event phenomenon called bubbling, where an event that happens inside an element bubbles up to each of the parent elements from where it started until it gets all the way up to the document or the HTML element. And so if I click an element inside the document, that event is going to bubble up to that element's parent and that element's parent and so on until it hits the document and triggers this event listener callback to run. Inside the callback function, I can check the event target, the thing that actually triggered this event, to see if it has the click me class on it or not. If it does, it's one of the elements we care about. If not, it's not. And you can actually see here, if we console log the event target, it's going to be different things. So let's reload this page. And here it's actually the HTML element, and it's not a match. Here it's a button, but it's not one with the click me class, so it's not a match. Here it's the button with the click me class, so it actually is an element that we care about, and the piece in that conditional bit of code here ran. And so this is a really handy way to listen to click events on multiple elements without having to set up an individual event listener for each one. And when I share this technique, a lot of times I have folks say to me, it's actually more performant to listen to every click that happens in the browser versus on specific elements. There's a little bit of nuance here, but generally speaking, if you're listening for events on multiple elements, yes, this approach is actually more performant than attaching listeners to each one. And it also has the added benefit that if you were to, say, add additional elements that met that criteria into the UI later, injecting them with JavaScript or something like that, this event listener will catch those too, whereas looping through each one when the page loads and attaching individual event listeners will not. So I love event delegation, and I recommend you use it whenever you're trying to listen for events on more than one element. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe even share it with someone else who you think might enjoy it. You can also get my daily developer tips newsletter over at gomakethings.com, where every weekday I share a new tip, trick, tool, or Vanilla.js snippet to help you build a simpler and more resilient web. Thanks so much for watching.